Here we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of OC and TJ. It's the end of June, which means training camp is coming up in a month. But it's not just that, because in about a week or two, I think the Giants Hard Knocks is coming out, and the Netflix receiver series. So those will be fun watches to look forward to. But before we get into today's topic for the show, we got to introduce ourselves. It's OC. It's TJ. How's it going?
Man, I was talking to Colin earlier, and he's looking nice and tan. So, clearly he had a fun week, or for the most part, on his cruise. But man, happy to be back talking ball, and should be a fun one. We got a fun topic ahead, so I'm excited.
Oh yeah. So TJ and I both had different ideas for this show because we were thinking okay, we got 2 weeks until season previews. What the hell are we going to do to spend time with it? So I thought, going through the old YouTube suggestions, I saw a podcast talk about which head coaches are on the hot seat and which ones are safe. So I thought, all right, we could try something like that. But then I got this DM from him from an Instagram account from the Wenzel Perspective. I think that's what it was called, saying that pretty much you had an expansion team and you had 5 players to save or whatever from each team. It could have been something different than that. Hold on, I gotta pull this up.
So I think, it's basically like that. So it's basically, if you're building an expansion team and you have to pick 5 players from each team, which 5 players would you pick? That's going to take way too long for us to do, and you guys will get bored out of your mind, so we're going to do 2 for each team. And essentially, what goes into this, it's not necessarily, all the best players from each team, the best 2 players from each team, but it'll contract, age, position will all play a factor in who we choose. So, we thought this kind of be a little fun thing to experiment with. And Colin, we have another idea that he thought of.
Oh yeah, I already brought that one up. The head
coaching one. Yeah.
Oh, I pretty much thought, taking off of that Instagram post, I thought, you know what? We choose 2 players, one on the offense, one on the defense. Which ones we would save and make sure that we lock them in for the next few years or so, or however long it takes for them to continue their careers. So I don't know how this is going to go, to be quite honest with you. I think where the head coaching one will be fine, but I think when it comes to saving the players, we're definitely going to struggle from time to time. So hopefully we get through it. So you can see the tier list?
Yes, I can. And last clarification, do you think we should be doing one on offense, one on defense, or 2 could be 2 on the same side of the ball? What are you thinking?
Ooh. I mean, we could do – I was thinking 1 on offense, 1 on defense, and then I don't know. Do we choose – I don't know. I feel like the 1-1 would be better because for I don't know. It would be hard to do.
Some teams have some really bad units, so it's it'd be tough to pick. So I'll leave that decision up to you. We can honestly figure it out as we go. Or what do you think? I think 1 on offense, 1 on defense is probably the move here. So we'll do that.
We'll try it. All right, so let's start off with the New Orleans Saints. When it comes to their head coach, I think it's anywhere between pretty warm and red hot, just because, what has Dennis Allen really proven as a head coach besides mediocrity? At least for the Saints. The Raiders, it was just one and done, or not even one and done, but it was just losing and losing.
Yeah. I would say, I think this is red hot, though, just because, even I don't even think an 8 or 9 win season really prevents him from losing his job, because it doesn't really, there's nothing really, you're not winning a Super Bowl with Dennis Allen, I don't think. I don't really see that happening. So it's really, you got to shoot for the stars with.
He's a defensive coordinator, and the offense has talent, but at the same time, it's just the fact they even won 9 games last year was just flat out absurd, because they looked really, really boring to watch. And honestly, in this division, they should be a huge team to try and win it and steal it from Tampa, but it's just they always get in their own way. And, they got albatross signings. Their defense is getting older. So, I don't know. If Mickey Loomis can stay there for that long, though, then I think Dennis Allen could. But I don't know. That's why I said I was kind of debating that, because I don't know if the Saints want to make a huge change when they're already dealing with a lack of financial space, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. See how it goes with them.
All right, so let's try this one. What 2 players would we save from this team?
I feel like the offense is pretty easy, right?
Should we have one of us chooses an offensive player and another chooses a defensive player?
Up to you. We could do that. What were you thinking? You want to do offense or you want to do defense?
Defensive player? This one is actually a pretty interesting one. It's interesting one because, obviously Demario Davis is heading into his 30s, so is Tyrann Mathieu, so is Cameron Jordan. So really, you got, oh good, the Lakers are picking Bronny. What a big surprise. Sorry, it just literally popped on my phone. But
all over today, all over the place.
Exactly. I mean, the NBA draft was today, so my phone's just blowing up. But
yeah,
I think that you got to really look at the youth here, and a lot of it comes with your secondary. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore is still 28 years old, and I think he's already in for a contract extension, so you don't have to worry about him. I'm going to go with Paulson Adebo because he has honestly been a very underrated corner, and he's still just 24 years old. And I know that some people might have J.C. Jackson vibes coming from him just because of his abilities as a number 2. Can it really translate to being a number 1? But I think that if there's anything great with the Saints, it's their defense. It has not really suffered any setbacks since Dennis Allen has taken over. And, I mean, they obviously are getting younger and younger because of the draft. But I would probably say Paulson Adebo. And I think it would be a little too early to say Brian Bresee or Kool-Aid because you just have to really see how they do in their rookie contracts. Offensively, though, I don't think it should be too hard, though. But I'll let you decide. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's an easy one for me. It's Chris Olave. I mean, I could see it being Fuaga in maybe 1 or 2 years just because he's, going to be the blindside protector. But for right now, it's Chris Olave. That could just kind of speak to how bad the Saints offense is, but I think he's a stud. So I think that's where you go with there. Yeah,
I don't think there's any debate there. I'll tell you this. I mean, if Michael Thomas didn't get hurt after the 2019 season, I feel like he would definitely be in that conversation as well. But yeah, Chris Olave is that's an easy one right there because he is so freaking underrated. It's just that the team hasn't been able to reach its expectations. So, the minute he's on, a winning franchise, then we'll be able to, really see him come onto the scene. Same thing with Garrett Wilson. But, all right, let's go with Miami. I think Mike McDaniel, he is the definition of super chill. And
yeah,
I know some are arguing that it should be somewhat balanced, but, I mean, the players love him. He has an incredible personality, and he's an offensive genius, and he has full faith and confidence in, the guys that are, on the sidelines and on the field. How can you get any better than that?
No, yeah, that would have been my pick, too. I think people are going to point to, the playoff success and things like that, but a lot of other factors that go into that. He's one of the best offensive minds in football, so I think that's where I put him too. Yeah.
All right. Now, when it comes to the 2 players that we need to keep in Miami, we'll flip things around. I'll just find an offensive player. So obviously, Tyreek Hill wants a contract that'll keep him in Miami throughout the rest of his career. And Tua has yet to get his full-time contract extension. So this one is really tough because I think it's really between these 2 players. The running backs, I think you can be able to, replace some of your starters if they somehow leave in free agency. And you already have Waddle locked in. But, I mean, I would probably say Tua. I mean, call me crazy. Because, listen, I know Tyreek Hill is the cheetah, and he's the most unstoppable receiver in the league. I get that. But at the same time, I just brought up you have Jalen Waddle. And also, if you let Tua go, it's going to take years for them to find somebody that's going to try to bring them to Super Bowl level status. At least Tua has at least helped them win games. And I know without Tyreek Hill, it wouldn't be the same result. But at the same time, quarterbacks are the most valuable for a reason. And I mean, this definitely will be a freezing cold take, but if you want to between Tua and Tyreek, you got to prioritize the quarterback first because Tyreek Hill, I don't think he's going to leave Miami no matter what. So,
yeah. No, I get that. For defense, tough. This is a tough one. I'll probably go with Javon Holland. Just because he's still young. He's still very young.
He's really
at 24. Yeah, he's 24. So, and obviously not a premium position, in terms of the five that we think of, like edge rusher, receiver, quarterback, all those things. But he is a damn good player. And now he's in a tandem with Jordan Poyer too, who granted has kind of fallen off a little bit, but it's a good safety duo.
Right.
I'm excited to see that. But I'd probably choose him just with age. And he had a few injuries last year, but he has proven to be a really good draft pick for them. So
exactly. I probably would have gone with Jalen Phillips, but
the injury though, man.
Great. So yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
I don't think player, though. Really good player, Jalen Phillips.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think that one was too hard to debate. Let's go to Baltimore. And I think with John Harbaugh, I think it's just whenever he wants to step down, I think that's when he'll no longer be the head coach. I mean, he's pretty much, honestly, the best head coach they've ever had because outside of 2015, where they dealt with a boatload of injuries, I don't think he's had a single losing season in his head coaching tenure besides that. So,
yeah, definitely nothing less than 8 wins. I'd say, but I think you're right about that. He's very Mike Tomlin-esque in that regard.
I mean, if you want to count 8 and 9 as a losing record, I guess. But then again, Lamar Jackson was hurt at the end.
So it's context to that. I get what you mean.
Yeah. So for the players to save, I think. I mean, he's already locked in. So does Lamar Jackson even count? But I'll go with the defensive player.
Yeah.
I mean, Matabike's already extended. Marlon Humphrey, he's not really getting any younger. I have to go with Kyle Hamilton. I mean, because that guy can play anywhere on the field. He's outstanding in coverage. He's a hard hitter, and he's a guy that could really come off the line and come unblocked as a blitzer. And really, he's just been a true staple to the list of legends that the Ravens have had in their secondary. And I think Kyle Hamilton is just getting started. So him for sure on the defensive side.
Yeah, I would have gone with him too. Offense, I mean, you'd obviously choose Lamar Jackson here, right? For the player that you would.
I mean, he's already under contract, and he's
true. But if I was starting an expansion team, I'm taking Lamar Jackson easily.
There you go. You know what? I'm gonna change my Dolphins answer to Tyreek Hill because you know what? That's fine.
Perfect.
I completely forgot about the context. Hell, sorry.
Tyreek Hill. Perfect. All right, and then Lamar. I mean, do we even need no. I don't really think we even need an explanation. He's
2 MVPs.
2 MVPs. I'm taking that for my expansion team. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I'll take that.
Exactly. All right, Cincinnati with Zach Taylor. After his second year, he was really red hot, and then Joe Burrow was healthy. Jamar Chase was a rookie. They still had T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon, and they completely took off and went to the Super Bowl. I wouldn't really say super chill for now because, I mean, I'm scared that Zach Taylor is going to head down the Mike McCarthy path where he just gets carried by a future Hall of Fame quarterback. So I would probably say somewhat balanced. Would you say the same thing?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. He's not perfect, but he's still a, solid head coach. So I don't really think, he's not the elite tier, but he's good. So.
Yep. And I think when it comes to the player you got to save on the offensive side, it's Burrow. It is Burrow because even though Jake Browning did a pretty good job at backup, I mean, Joe Burrow was their heart and soul. He was their field general. He just makes plays game after game after game. He's got a heart of a warrior and a lion. And listen, you can have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins all you want, but I mean, Burrow is like the ultimate difference maker that could go anywhere with the football. And that's no slight on Browning. It's just that two of them are completely different quarterbacks. So I don't think this one is too much of a debate for me.
Yeah. I mean, always got to lean to the quarterback, man. I think that'd be mine too. Defense is where it gets tough, though, because their defense, it's a solid unit, and they've got a good defensive coordinator, but in terms of individual players, they don't really have, like, high-end talent, at least young. They got good players, but not, like, anything like
Right.
Like, they don't have, like, a Myles Garrett or a Micah Parsons. But I'm going to go with kind of an underrated one. This guy's young. Again, not a premium position, but really young and really good player. I'm going to go with Jordan Battle. 23 years old, and was, like, had a really good season last year. So only really room to improve for him. And, the other players too, like Trey Hendrickson and, BJ Hill, like guys in the defensive line, like those guys are already getting paid and, not like a whole ton, but like already getting paid and they're getting up there in age. Like they've been in the league for like 5 to 7 years. So with Jordan Battle, I think he was drafted, 3 years ago? So
yeah,
still a lot of room to improve. So I'm going to go with that one. And he's going to be a key piece in their secondary. And they've obviously got Taylor Britt in there too.
I would have gone with him.
Yeah, he's a good one too. But honestly, I mean, it's probably interchangeable. But I think with the season Jordan Battle had last year, like at least a really underrated safety, like that's kind of where you go with there, in my opinion. So
I would have gone with Taylor Britt. I mean, he is an underrated corner, and I don't think
secondary as a whole is underrated, honestly.
And also, Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt are like an outstanding linebacker duo. So
Logan Wilson's almost 30, though. He's like 20.
That's true.
He's like 27, 28, I think, but still.
Yeah, the secondary is definitely going to be a weakness for me, just because you have a lot of moving parts. And I know they brought Von Mel and Mike Hilton back, but at the same time, it's just you don't really have a number one corner. And maybe that will be Taylor Britt, but at the same time, I think he's just better as a nickelback or someone that could play on the opposite field or opposite end of the field. But I don't know. We'll find out. The Broncos is where it really gets tricky for all three, because I think for Denver, it's just, you have Sean Payton, but it feels like it's Mike Ditka in New Orleans all over again. So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I wouldn't say pretty war. Actually, I don't know. What is Sean Payton's job status? Because it's like they traded a first-round pick to get him, and I mean, he did okay last year, but
I think it's pretty warm. I want to say red hot. I think it's pretty warm though, because he's kind of, I mean, this roster is really bad, so he's not going to really have a lot to work with, but there's got to be like some signs of improvement on offense. So I definitely say it's in between warm and red hot, because the Broncos are impatient. They haven't been to the playoffs in like 8 years, so they're impatient.
Yeah, I can't disagree here. With a defensive player that needs to be saved, I would say, oh boy, I think it's Patrick Surtain, because I don't think he's gotten a contract extension yet, which is flat out ridiculous. But yeah, this guy is one of the top shutdown corners in all of football, and I mean, I wouldn't say nobody's talking about it, but it's just I don't think it gets recognized enough, because it's just been a quarterback drama-infested show that's just taken place in that organization since Peyton Manning retired. So I would definitely say Surtain if you want to keep him from going anywhere else. Personally, I want him to stay on a better team just so he could thrive. But, yeah, it's probably Surtain.
The offense, man, I don't even know who you pick here. Like Garrett Bowles, I was thinking, but then realized he's almost 33, so
yeah,
that's a no for me. I'm probably gonna have to go Bo Nix, right? I mean, you have your quarterback you took at number 12.
Sutton.
Man, I mean, Cortland Sutton's a good player, but is he someone I want for an expansion team?
No.
On a really good team, he's like a number 3. With Bo Nix,
Zach Wilson, though.
Zach Wilson, yeah. I mean, maybe 3 years ago I would have bought into that, but now I'm kind of with Bo Nix. I mean, he's the 12th overall pick, so I would hope I would take him for an expansion team, because I drafted him that high. So
I got it.
Yeah, and honestly, that just goes to show how the Broncos' offense is Yeah, I don't even. It's top 25 at best. Like that's going to be a really bad unit, but the defense is still solid and can kind of make up for that a little bit. And maybe the Sean Payton has sort of like is able to, counteract that. But
Yeah,
we'll see, man.
we will see. I mean, what if the Broncos just end up being like the Giants 2 seasons ago and just completely shock us and make the playoffs?
Hey, crazier things have happened. So
I know. I mean, I don't think they're going to be really good at all, just because they're not a good quarterback. And more importantly, I mean, the defense is okay, and the offense has pieces, but it's just like I don't know how any of this is going to come together. They need everything to go perfect for them to have at least a shot of having a decent season.
yeah.
That's what I would say. All right, now for the Giants, I'll actually let you take the lead on all three of them because you know this team better than I.
Okay, so head coach, I'd probably go super chill. I think that's what it should be.
Ooh, all right.
What Brian Dable's been able to do with really bad quarterback play is one of the most underrated storylines in the entire league, I think, in my opinion. I mean, to win a playoff game with Daniel Jones and win it the way they did, to last year's disaster to even win like 6 games, and the few of the games they lost they could have easily won. So, and they did that with like a guy that was like straight off didn't know if he was going to be in the league to actually winning some games. Like they beat the Giants last season, and
They did.
and that was great offensive. I mean, obviously the Packers defense had some mishaps, but I think he's super chill just because I don't really understand the hot seat narrative for him. Just because you don't win a lot of games doesn't really with Sean. I know I said the same thing for Sean Payton, but with Dable, like he's done it. He did it his first season, so let's chill out with that. Other people that are calling for his head. For offense, I think that's Andrew Thomas. I want to say Neighbors, but haven't seen him play yet. And Andrew Thomas is a left tackle, and when Daniel Jones has had his best seasons, Andrew Thomas has been healthy and being the blind side for him. So I'll go with Andrew Thomas. Then defense. I mean, this is actually really easy for the Giants offense, defense players. Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence. I mean, Dexter Lawrence, I think we talked about it in the last episode. I mean, we haven't really seen a defensive tackle that big to move like that. And I think he is, on that, if he plays at this level for 4 or 5, 6 more years, like he's going to be in the Giants Ring of Honor. So,
Most likely.
yeah. So I think those are all my picks. And I think, would you disagree on those? On the
No.
Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence ones? I don't know.
I definitely would not disagree with any of them because Andrew Thomas is like one of the best blindside blockers in the league, and Dexter Lawrence, Sexy Dexy, is just a beast that can do anything. So I can't disagree with you there. With Dable, I would have definitely said somewhat balanced just because of the Daniel Jones extension. But for the most part, I mean, he did everything that he could. I mean, his first year, he takes them to the playoffs. They beat Kirk Cousins in the wild card. The next year, that's when everything completely fell apart, yet you still beat some decent teams with freaking Tommy DeVito. So
I'm saying,
if you could still have like a okay season with everything that was going for you, then yeah, I would probably agree with you there. But yeah, I would. I mean, it's definitely not on the hot seat because I mean he's doing everything he could, but it's just the quarterback and the O line, and now you don't even have Saquon. So who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Speaking of quarterbacks and uncertain futures, let's go to the Minnesota Vikings. I think Kevin O'Connell is super chill for now. I don't think there's
I agree.
anything that needs to be discussed there. I mean, last year Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles and they missed the playoffs, and they were actually that close to making it too, but it was just Josh Dobbs. That magic wore off pretty quickly. Jared Hall was definitely not ready, and Nick Mullins just kept turning the ball over too damn much. So I think now with Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy, hopefully they'll be competitive because they have the pieces to be in the playoffs. It's just Sam Darnold sees ghosts, and J.J. McCarthy is apparently nowhere near ready to start yet. So
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I was gonna say, we said the same thing for Dable. The same thing goes for O'Connell.
Yeah.
They're very similar coaches, in my opinion. Great offensive minds, have had some bad situations, and have made the most out of it. So,
All right, so this is where it gets tricky when it comes to the players because Justin Jefferson already got paid, but at the same time, I think when it comes to the expansion team question, then yeah, you're keeping him. But if it a second option for me would, yeah, I don't think there's actually any debate. I think it's Jefferson. So yeah, that's what I'd go with. What would you say for the defense?
Defense, man. I think their defense is going to be solid just because of like as a unit. It's similar to the Bengals one, but I think, man, it's a tough one.
Yeah,
I'd probably go with.
I was gonna think a second option would be Jordan Addison, but at the same time, you'll let Jefferson go, then yeah, it's too much. But he already got paid, so I don't really think it matters too much.
No, I'd go with Jefferson there, and then defense. I think honestly, go with the Rook, Dallas Turner.
Yeah,
a lot of upside. And you invested a lot. They traded up a ton to get him, so I'd go with that. I feel like it's an easy one, just because their defense, a lot of good veterans and players that can make an impact. But I don't really like. This could come back to bite me, but I don't see anyone that's going to be like a huge game changer, like guy that's going to be like a ton of pressures this season, like. And I think the closest one to that is Dallas Turner. So hopefully he can have a great rookie season.
I was going to say Jonathan Grenard.
He was who else I was thinking too. But honestly, Grenard has been in the league, just got paid. So I'm going to go with like the young blood, the young edge rusher there. But I think you can make an argument for Grenard too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. The Rams, I don't think this is a debate. I'm not even going to explain why. No. I mean, it's like the same thing with Harbaugh. It's like when he decides to step down, that's when he'll leave. But when it comes to the offensive defensive players saved. Sorry. I'll go with a defensive player. It's got to be someone on their defensive line, or mainly on their front seven, because really they have a bunch of young playmakers that can make a huge impact. I mean, Ernest Jones was someone that was versatile all over the field. Kobe Turner had an awesome year. Byron Young, Michael Hoyt. They drafted Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. I think that's his name.
Braden Fisk.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's got to be. It's tough. I'll probably say Ernest Jones just because you need someone that's gonna be that commander, that someone that's going to make sure that he's slowing down the run, that he's playing well in coverage, to make sure that he's audibly exactly the same time as the quarterback. And honestly, you got to make sure that these young defensive linemen can make a huge impact without Aaron Donald on the field. So that's why I'd say Ernest Jones, because at least he's been the more consistent player.
Yeah. No, I think, anyone in that front seven, they have one of the most underrated front seven units in the league. So, that's a good one. For offense, I'm going with Puka Nacua. I think that's an easy one here. Fresh off one of the best rookie, or maybe the best rookie receiving season ever. So, I think it's an easy one. He's how old? Maybe 22, 23 years old. So,
and Cooper Kupp is not getting younger.
No. So, and the injuries too. So
exactly. I know. Hopefully he could keep his hamstrings healthy this year because they're going to need him. Because everyone knows that the Rams are going to try to be a fighter in these games, and really when they go up against tougher teams, that's when they're going to really hit their floor. But for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all right. So my parents, who pretty much watch every single Bucs game, they do not like Todd Bowles as a head coach for whatever reason. Just because, listen. Not a lot of, as someone who's had a head coach that doesn't really say a lot, I can understand when it could rub people the wrong way. But Bowles was the same guy that created the awesome defensive mastermind to shut down Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So I wouldn't resent him too much. It could be pretty warm, but at the same time, they just won the division without Tom Brady and with Baker Mayfield having a renaissance season. So I'd say it's somewhat balanced. I'm not going to say super chill, but I think, listen, if things don't work out this year, then yeah, I would definitely put it into one of these two tiers because if the offense somehow turns into the Daniel Jones Giants of last year, then that's going to be a huge issue for him. So,
yeah, I mean, I feel like it's hard to make an argument for anything else just because of the winning. But if I would have probably put him. No, I think it's a good one. I was thinking pretty warm, but with the you can't really justify that with winning the division. What, they've won it 4 years in a row now.
yeah. Well, let's see. 21, 22, 23.
3 years in a row.
Yeah, 2020 the Saints won it.
They won the Super Bowl though, so it's
yeah.
I think.
I know.
No, that was with Arians though. Never mind. Jeez.
Yeah, no, Arians was the head coach in 2020.
Losing my mind.
A wild card team. The next year they won the division with Arians, and then Bowles was there the next year. So.
He was still there though, but he wasn't the head coach obviously. But either way, they've still been winning, so it's hard to kind of dock him for that, I guess you could say. So I think that's a fair one. And what is it? It's your pick for offense now, right?
Yep. This one isn't too hard for me. I'm going to say Mike Evans. The guy's a future Hall of Famer. He has 1,000-yard seasons every single year. And if it wasn't for him, I don't think Baker Mayfield would have had the type of year that he had. As great as Chris Godwin is, and as much talent as Trey Palmer and Rachaad White and the offensive line has, Mike Evans is that game changer that just opens everything else up. So, and also, you need to make sure that Baker Mayfield can at least be consistent because last year he was solid down the stretch, but we saw the same thing with Daniel Jones, and look how that turned out.
Yeah, I mean, I would have probably picked Tristan Wirfs there.
Yeah, that's another one. But I mean,
age, but yeah, I'm
already extended though, so that's a.
I don't know.
So it's really between those two. That's a tough one.
Between those two, both premium positions, it's tough to. I probably would lean Wirfs just because of his age, but hey, Mike Evans is not showing any signs of slowing down. He consistently is putting up numbers and great seasons, so wouldn't blame you for that.
Yeah, it's too close, but it could go either way. Honestly, if we were ever in this situation, it could go either way.
Yeah, I think for defense it's much easier. I think it's Antoine Winfield.
Yeah.
Was probably the best safety in football last year. I don't even think he made an All-Pro, or maybe he did.
No,
he got snubbed for something.
Pro Bowl he didn't make.
Pro Bowl, but he got snubbed for All-Pro. Yeah, should have been an All-Pro. Yeah, right. I think again, I'm picking a lot of these safeties, which is crazy because you always want to lean towards the edge rushers, defensive line, corners. But when you're that good of a safety, I'll take you on my expansion team too, just because you need good safeties.
The Pro Bowl, that's what it was.
Okay, I knew he snubbed from something, but either way, he already got paid too, which is good. But still, I think he's the best player on that defense by far, just because of his consistency and what he's been able to do for that defense. So I'm going with Antoine Winfield. Yep,
I don't think there's any debate there because Lavonte David's getting older and the pass rush is fine, but not warranted enough to make sure that you're going to be there for the long term. So I don't think Antoine Winfield is a debate. And the fact that he didn't even make the Pro Bowl is just flat out insulting. So I don't know what happened there. The Lions, come on.
Yep.
I don't even want to even go further. Let's just go into the
easy one.
Defense. Offense is where it gets so freaking hard, but I'll go with the defensive player. To make things a little easy. I think it's Aiden Hutchinson because he was really the only reason why they were even still – he was the only consistent player within that unit. The secondary was coming out strong. They were actually holding their own against some top-tier teams, but then, down the stretch, they started getting more worn down. They got more exposed, and it pretty much all came to a crash in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers. And Hutchinson – I don't think it's talked about enough because it's such a loaded league with so many all-pro pass rushers. So I think without Hutchinson, you are not the same defense as you were. And that's why they took him with their second overall pick. They pretty much thanked Jacksonville for taking Trayvon Walker because without Hutchinson, they would not have that swagger.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably who I would have gone with there. Yeah, that's definitely who I would have gone with there. For their offense, I mean, you probably got to go with Panay Sewell, right? He
Go with anybody.
Yeah, I mean him or Amon Ra. I'm gonna probably lean Panay Sewell just because I think like Andrew Thomas, really one of the best left tackle or best tackle. Sorry, he's not a left tackle; he's a right tackle, but one of the best tackles in football. And I think it's the second most valuable position, the offensive tackle. Obviously, he's not the blindside protector, but
right.
In 3 or 4 years when Decker like retires or something, I could totally see him moving in over there just because of how elite he is. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Panay Sewell.
Yeah. I mean, that will definitely be a debate because Amon-Ra St. Brown has just been an absolute game changer. And, he's everything you want and a number one option. But, yeah, I will never complain about someone taking an offensive lineman over anyone else because they're just at such a premium position that without any of those players, the offense can't even operate the way that it wants. I mean, as you well know, super well, actually.
Yeah. Funny enough, the tackle is the only thing the Giants have. Everything else is terrible, but the Giants have their tackle, so that's why it's rough to see.
Exactly. Let's go to the Bears. For Matt Eberflus, to me, it's really red hot because I understand he's a solid defensive mind. This was never the right situation for him, in my opinion, just because of, the Chicago Bears and, the history and just the lack of success, especially at the quarterback position since 1985. And really, this is the last year for him to prove himself. I mean, you've got Caleb Williams, you got DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. You have a defense that led the league in turnovers and was one of the best run defenses in football and a boatload of playmakers. You can't miss the playoffs with this unit. And really, he hasn't really given me the vibe where he can really inspire people. And maybe I'm missing that. Maybe he's just more of a behind-the-scenes guy. But you can't really say he's that guy yet because he hasn't had the credentials. So, yeah, I'd probably say red hot. Would you disagree? Or
no, I wouldn't disagree. I mean, you can make an argument because he has a rookie quarterback. Like you can't really make a determination this year, but that roster's loaded. So it's like he's got to show some signs of improvement. So yeah, I think he's definitely up there on the hot seat. So I think that's solid.
All right. Who to save on the offense is a hard one because honestly, it's got to be Caleb.
Easily, I think it has to be Caleb, right?
I mean, they've been waiting for years and years to have a game-changing quarterback. Like the best one they've had, winning-wise, is Jim McMahon. Statistically, it's Jake Cutler. And then after that, it's Kyle Orton, Mitchell Trubisky, Justin Fields, Jim Harbaugh.
A lot of bad.
Anywhere, Rex Grossman. I mean, Rex Grossman took him to a Super Bowl, but he had an outstanding defense and a quality run game. So without Caleb Williams, it's just like you're still going to be trash. So, and the reason it was tricky is just because they have so much talent. But I mean, again, without that quarterback, you're doomed.
I mean, they had a lot of talent with Fields too, and we saw how that ended out, right? Yeah, I think Caleb's a good answer there too. Number one overall pick too. You're not giving that up,
right?
I think on defense, obviously a little tougher here. You have to go with Jalen Johnson, right? You have to.
You could go with anybody, honestly.
That one.
You got T.J. Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, Jalen Johnson, Brisker.
I'm thinking though, like a cornerback, I'm taking because again, cornerback's premium too. Like you need good corners, and he is had a phenomenal season the last 2 years. He is the definition of a shutdown corner. And he's still young. He's 25 years old. So I think with that 24, 25 years old. So I think, I'm taking in this instance, you get your franchise quarterback and a shutdown cornerback. That's a good pairing for the Bears, in my opinion. So I think that's who I'd go with. Obviously, there's other depth players that are really good. But I think that proven commodity, one of the best to do it at their position is very crucial there. So
I would have gone with Montez Sweat, and I'll explain why.
He's another one too.
Without Montez Sweat, the Bears literally have no pass rush, which means that their secondary is going to get exposed more and more when they have to go up against tougher competition. With Jalen Johnson, you also have Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker. You still have an outstanding linebacker duo. But when you don't get pressure, it doesn't allow the other guys to do their jobs. And really, Montez Sweat is going to be their most valuable player on that side of the ball just because of his presence alone. So I think without a pass rush, you can't do well on the defensive side. I don't care how much talent you have in that secondary. You're not going to be able to do that well if you can't get pressure on the quarterback.
No, yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, Montez Sweat's going to be huge for them
because Jalen Johnson nothing short of brilliant since he's been in Chicago. So
yeah, no, those are both good options. I feel like.
Yeah. Here's the thing with the 49ers. I mean, yeah, Kyle Shanahan is super chill just because they were in the Super Bowl, but my gosh, I mean, there's going to come a time where enough is going to be enough, and they just want to stop the choking before it's done. But, I mean, it's never going to happen because he's literally the best head coach they've had since Bill Walsh. So, which isn't saying a lot because since Bill Walsh left, it's just been nothing short. I mean, George Seifert won them a Super Bowl, so I guess he counts. But it was with Bill Walsh's team and with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. But aside from that, I would probably say super chill just because, again, you've been dominating the NFC. You were in the Super Bowl. It's just you can't beat the Chiefs. That's the problem. And you can't stop getting in your own way.
Yeah. No, but I think as far as, like, where he should be, like, Shanahan, again, the offensive minds are really the guys that are just truly the best at being head coaches. So I think you see a trend with all those guys up there besides, like, Dan Campbell, and Harbaugh doesn't really count because he's just a great head coach. But, like, the other guys are great offensive minds. So I think there's definitely a trend there.
Exactly. Yeah, this is going to get really tricky when it comes to the players to save. Offensively, I mean, where do you even start? I mean, you got George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Debo, Christian McCaffrey, and Brock Purdy.
I think, yeah, obviously all those names make it tough, but I think I'm still going with Purdy.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He's the quarterback. And honestly, McCaffrey is obviously a good pick too, but again, almost 30. Ayuk would probably be my runner-up, but like.
And you have Trent Williams. I forgot about him.
Trent Williams is over 30 though, so it's
like the best.
I know he's great, but like at that position, like you can fall off any season. And I want a guy. Do I want a elite quarterback for the next 10 years or elite left tackle for the next 2 or 3? I'm taking elite quarterback for the next 10. You could take the receiver too, but Purdy, without a quarterback, that team. I mean, we've seen it operate without a quarterback, but like they're on a different level with an elite quarterback like Brock Purdy.
They did go to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, that's what I'm saying. So I think that's maybe a counter to that, but I think with you see the difference with Purdy and like the offense just looks better. With Garoppolo, they were holding him back so much, and because their defense offense is so good, they were able to carry. But with Purdy, like he is, like yeah, sure, maybe he's a system quarterback, but he like is the system. Like he is literally like they built that offense around him and his skill set. They're not like holding him back to do anything. Like he's doing everything they're asking him to and more. So I think, and he's only going to continue to go up from here. So
that's a good point.
I'm going Purdy. Always lean the quarterback. If you have an elite one, I'm always leaning the quarterback. So
that is a good point. And also, I mean, Christian McCaffrey is not getting any younger, and more importantly, he's had an injury history. And I mean, Kyle Shanahan is a great enough coach to develop a lot of young talent, and John Lynch knows how to find that. So I don't think there's any problem with that. So yeah, I could see where you go from there. Defense. There are a lot of players, but it's got to be Nick Bosa. It's got to be. I mean, without him, their defense can't function. Like, he's one of the most unstoppable edge rushers in all of football, and he's a machine. He just disrupts the game every single time. And not only disrupts it, he destroys it. So, yeah, it's got to be him. As great as everyone else is on that defense, I don't think they would be as great without Bosa. So
Yeah, no, hard to argue. His pure presence on the field, just makes him so much better. So
right.
can't argue with that.
All right, here we go with the Eagles and Nick Sirianni. Oh boy. I mean, this guy took them to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they were 3 points away from beating the Chiefs and a fumble away from beating the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So I'm not going to say he's super chill, and I don't want to put him in red hot because I think that's too much of a stretch, in my opinion. I know you want to put him there. I know why, too. But I would definitely say pretty warm just because of last year's collapse and
Yeah.
you know what happened with Doug Peterson 3 years after he won the Super Bowl. So I would definitely say pretty warm because Philly does not get patient when it comes to declines. We'll say
any of those big markets don't. Like Dallas, same thing. Like
Dallas, New York,
Chicago, like
Angeles.
Yeah, they don't deal with that.
Same thing with basketball too.
Yeah, good point. I was probably gonna say the same thing though. Red hot is close. It depends how next season starts because he's not a good head coach. Nick Sirianni is not a good head coach at all. But hard to justify when he's had the record. Again, like records don't mean anything. But like it's hard. Like I don't even know what his career record is, but it's definitely winning, and it's winning by a lot. So it's hard.
Let's see. They went 10-7 his first year. Literally the first year when they were supposed to suck. The second year they go to the Super Bowl, and the third year, same story as the first year, where you just get thrown in the wild card by Tampa.
He has a winning record, but he's not a good head coach. But he's not on the level that like Eberflus and Allen are. So I think pretty warm is good for now, but he just does nothing well.
Arrogant head coach.
He's arrogant. Yeah, he's arrogant.
Mike McCarthy is a horrible head coach. That's another one. And he won a Super Bowl because he just got bailed out by a quarterback.
But I think Mike McCarthy runs laps around Nick Sirianni, though.
I guess. I mean,
Nick Sirianni, like at least with McCarthy, like he has offensive background. He specializes in something. What does Nick Sirianni do? Super Bowl run was all the coordinators. What?
He dances on the sideline.
Yeah, right? Like, he doesn't do anything. Like, the coordinators were really the ones that really took that team to the Super Bowl. And then when they lost them, teams figured it out, and then they started to collapse. But I think it'll be better this season, but I don't think it's going to be because of him. They have a lot of talent, and their coordinators are good. So, I don't know. I think it's a good spot for him, though.
All right. When the players to save offensively, oof. This one is tough. I mean, you got Jalen Hurts, Saquon, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert on the same team. Mind you, they also have one of the best O-lines in the league. So I think if you lose any one of them, it's bad. But I don't know. I mean, I guess you could do fine without Saquon. And
definitely.
I don't know. This one is really hard. I want to say Jalen Hurts, but also at the same time, I don't want to let go of A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith because you got two number one options on the same team.
Yeah.
But, oh boy, I don't even know. I can't even think of it. A.J. Brown
it's the same thing with
locked in, and so is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I feel like for me, it's similar with the Niners, right? Like, obviously, A.J. Brown, Brandon Ayuk, two of the best receivers in the entire league. But I'm always taking – if I don't have a quarterback, man, you don't have anything. So it's like if I have even a sliver, even like –
also, you can't even do the tush push without Jalen Hurts. So
true. Like, who's their backup? Kenny Pickett? Like, you're not going to be able to do the tush push with Kenny Pickett. At least I don't think. Especially with Kelsey's not there. Like,
oh, yeah. So I'd probably say Jalen Hurts. It's too hard, though.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Like all these ones with loaded offenses and loaded –
when it comes to this team. Sorry.
All these ones with loaded offense and defense are going to be tough because there's so many to pick from. Like, I was talking to you earlier. I'm like, there's definitely going to be some all-pros left off some of these lists, like, for the teams. the defense is a lot easier just because the defense was very bad last year.
Yeah.
But I think the lone bright spot was Jalen Carter, and he's like that interior defensive presence that's really going to be once they get some other guys around him, like other edge rushers, it's just going to make it Bryce Huff's job's going to be a lot easier with Jalen Carter in there, assuming Jalen Carter continues to grow and develop. So I think Jalen Carter's the move there. Can't really think of anyone else, but I'll go with Jalen Carter.
I would have gone with him, that's for sure, because Darius Slay is getting older. James Bradbury is the definition of a roller coaster. And, I mean, Jordan Davis is great, and so is Bryce Huff, but I think Jalen Carter is going to prove why he is just an unstoppable defensive player. Because, I mean, if he can do it in college, he can definitely do it in the pros. So, especially with Vic Fangio. So, we'll see.
Yep.
All right, for the Raiders and Antonio Pierce, I would say somewhat balanced. I don't know about super chill yet because I want to see how the offense does. But, the players love them. They completely rallied around him after Josh McDaniels left. And thankfully, Mark Davis didn't do the same thing that he did with Rich Bisaccia. So I'd say somewhat balanced because you actually need to see him complete a full year. But it could definitely be up there once they actually reach their expectations.
Yeah, I don't really think there's another place you could put him just because we don't really know a whole lot yet. So I think that's where I'd put him too. We're pretty much in agreement here. This is pretty. I feel like we have similar opinions about a lot of these head coaches. We still got more, but for the most part, I think we've been very in agreement here.
Yep, in agreement. All right, let's go for which players to save. Defense, it's Max Crosby.
Yeah.
No, nothing else needs to be said. The guy's a freaking animal. Offensively, where do we go here? Devontae?
Such a tough. Probably not. He's 31, man.
I know. Still like a top 5 receiver, though.
He's a great receiver, but again, expansion team,
right.
This is probably the toughest one we're gonna go through because their offense, it has some pieces, but who am I taking for a long-term expansion team? Probably Bowers. Probably go. I know it's a tight end, but who else are you gonna pick? You're not picking any of the quarterbacks. Zamir White's a good player, but you're not taking a running back for an expansion team. Colton Miller is a great left tackle, almost 30 though.
It's either Devontae or Bowers. And I know Devontae's 31, but it's you let him go, what else happens?
True. But
that roster?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. Screw it. I'll go with Devontae. I know he's 31, and this is going against the whole thing, but it's a cut. If he was 2 years older, I would. So tough. I'll go with Devontae.
If he ever had a down year, then yeah, I would agree with you. But
yeah,
he hasn't given any signs that he's declining.
True. Similar to Mike Evans' thing. Okay, I'll go with Devontae, but Brock Bowers is very close. So
yep. All right, for the Packers, I think Matt LaFleur is super chill. He's winning since he's been in Green Bay. Obviously, he's yet to win a championship, but we thought that Aaron Rodgers was the one carrying him, but then Jordan Love happened. So it's just, Green Bay just knows how to produce Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So I don't think Matt LaFleur is in the hot seat unless something really drastic happens. So,
yeah, no, he's again offensive guy and one of the best offensive minds in the league. So, that's a recipe for being, the top guy. So,
yeah, guy to save on the offense, Jordan Love.
Yeah.
What else needs to be said? The guy is an absolute gem. It took a slow start for him to really figure it out, but once he did, he completely took off. He dismantled the Cowboys, and he did come up short against the 49ers, but that guy deserves to be one of the top paid quarterbacks in football, bar none. So,
yep. Yeah.
The defense is pretty tricky because you got a few guys that you can really throw out here.
I'm in between a few, but I'm going off consistency here, position, and one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL. I know he's had some injuries, but Rashawn Gary. I don't know why he's not really in this tier of is he the best edge rusher in the league? No, but I don't understand why he's not considered among this like the top two like
He's
tiers of edge rushers. He's a beast. I know he's had some injuries, but like he is consistently generating pressure. He's huge for that defense. Yeah, maybe the sack production isn't always there, but like he is just making life hell for every quarterback or every off the tackle, every quarterback that has to try and because he's fast and he's strong. Like he has everything you need in edge rusher, outside linebacker type. So yeah, I'm going with Rashawn Gary. That's not an easy one because Xavier McKinney and Jair Alexander are really decent players too, but I think Rashawn Gary has a bigger impact on the Packers, in my opinion.
I agree with that. Plus, Jair Alexander has started to slip up a bit. So
True. Very true.
I don't think there's anything to disagree about. And mind you, Rashawn Gary is actually what I want Chase Winovich to be, which is continuing to grow and continue to be a solid pass rusher. And both of them actually played for Michigan, so that's why I'm bringing his name up. So, yeah, Gary is definitely on the right path, and he should be in that conversation when it comes to the best edge rushers. I agree with you there.
Absolutely.
All right, for Washington, I think Dan Quinn is pretty warm because we know about his reputation in Atlanta, and honestly, I don't think it's fair to say that he should be red hot when he's literally heading into his first year. So,
yeah, I'm surprised you even put him in warm. I thought I feel like that's too early too. I know he's already been a head coach, but like first year, I mean, this team is one of the worst in the league. Like, I feel like he's got to have at least 2 to 3 years of breathing room. But
that's why I said pretty warm because listen, everyone knows what a head coach he was in Atlanta. You know how things were starting to look on the up and up, and then everything came crashing down after that Super Bowl. So that's what I mean. But I understand what you're talking about because it's a chance for him to redeem himself. And a lot of the reports are saying that Jaden Daniels has been absolutely outstanding. So, it could definitely move up to one of the top 2 tiers if possible.
Yeah, no, that'd be exciting to see.
Yeah. All right, for the players to save, I think this one is really tricky because, they pretty much just assembled their team. I'll go with their defense and just think of somebody I could choose because, it's mainly just a bunch of veterans and guys just trying to prove themselves. So I'd probably say Bobby Wagner because he's probably the best player on their defense alone.
No, I was about to say you're crazy for that, but actually now I'm thinking about it,
who else would you say?
No, their defense is really bad.
I actually no, not Bobby Wagner because, it's Bobby Wagner, Jonathan Allen, or Daron Payne. Like, those are the 3 guys.
Oh, yeah. How did I forget about them? I would have gone with one of the 2 defensive linemen.
Yeah.
I can't believe damn. How did I forget about Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne? Yeah.
They're Dan Quinn's guys. So I'm not really
Payne. I'd probably go with Payne. I know it's your pick, but
I'd say Payne or Allen just because they've been there longer and they definitely. But then again, they want to be in a winning environment, so I don't know. It's tough. I'd probably say
go just for that.
I don't know. Both of them are incredibly impactful players. I'd say Jonathan Allen just because of how much you could do with him because he could shut down the run and can bull rush up the middle. And Daron Payne is just as solid as well, but I don't know. It's one of those 2.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah, definitely one of those 2 defensive linemen. I think for the offense, I think it's easily Jaden Daniels, right?
Yeah.
Franchise quarterback, Heisman winner, 2nd overall pick. Just the upside there is crazy. You would be insane not to, especially with how limited that offense is. Not a lot of talent on there. I'm taking Jaden Daniels. So
yeah. All right, for the Cardinals, I'd say somewhat balanced because Kyler Murray's going to be fully healthy, but Jonathan Gannon has a lot of work to do with their defense, and the offense needs to make sure that they're on the right page because you drafted Marvin Harrison, you still have Trey McBride, you still have James Conner, you still have a decent, talented offense to make sure that it keeps you in a lot of games. So I wouldn't say Jonathan Gannon's seat is warm just yet.
No, it's too early.
And Kyler is the person you got to save because we saw how bad they were last year without him.
Yeah, I think it'll eventually shift to Marvin Harrison, but
Yeah.
Because Kyler is a very big question mark right now. Like the last 2 seasons have been rough. Obviously, the injury, I'm not discounting that, but like even before the injury, he wasn't playing too hot. So you're hoping to see kind of like that was sort of an anomaly.
Yeah.
But I understand keeping a quarterback who has played at a high level before, but just got to see it. For the defense, another tough one. I'm just gonna go with the youngest guy who has like the most slimmer of upside. I think it's BJ Ojolari. I'm just thinking, who else would you pick here? I mean, Buda Baker's way too old. Not way too old, but like he is not really the age on the opposite side of the age you want for a safety. So yeah, and I kind of, love his brother, man, Aziz. I love how talented he was. Just couldn't stay healthy. So hoping there's a different path for BJ Ojolari. So I'll go with BJ Ojolari. I think that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. I won't disagree with you there because you need to see what he can do, and Buda Baker's not getting any younger, but I'll agree. I think we're pretty much halfway done with this. So I think, you know what? Why don't we get the head coaches out of the way, and then we'll, try to pick it up with the players just so we can get this done.
Yeah.
For the Steelers, it's super chill because it's Mike Tomlin. I mean, let's be honest. He hasn't had a losing season ever.
That's true.
Same thing with Andy Reid. I mean, you cannot fire him after all he's done with Patrick Mahomes. That's too much. For the guys taking new head coaching roles, such as the Falcons, the Seahawks, and the Patriots, I would say they're somewhat balanced because you need time to see what they. Same thing with Brian Callahan and Dave Canales. Let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Same thing with Jim Harbaugh. And I know what we said the same thing about, and I know what we've seen from him in San Francisco, but I mean, Justin Herbert's the best quarterback that he's going to get to work with. So if Jim Harbaugh can succeed with him, then he'll definitely be back in the super chill category. But let's round these 7 out. What would you say for Sean McDermott, TJ?
I think it's pretty warm. It's pretty warm for Sean McDermott.
Yeah, especially
a lot of context there. I think without Josh Allen, he would have been fired years ago.
Yeah, all the turmoil that was going around last year, I'm surprised that if they weren't winning, he would have definitely been fired.
Yeah, and they went on a pretty big losing streak in the middle of the season, obviously. But again, Josh Allen. I mean, without Josh Allen, I don't think people realize how much Josh Allen is carrying this franchise into relevancy. I think people are they have talent, but without I'm trying to think of a comparison. I know we're trying to speed it up a little bit, but I think the difference between them and the Patriots roster outside of quarterback is not very much. I think Josh Allen just makes it very different. So,
all right. For the Browns and Kevin Stefanski, I'd say it's super chill.
Super chill.
Because he won
Coach of the
Year.
Yeah.
Yep. D'Amico Ryans, that's super chill. He was outstanding his first year. But what would you say about Doug Peterson?
I'd probably. That's a tough one. That's the toughest one on here, I think.
It could be pretty warm. I wouldn't say red hot.
I think it's pretty warm. But I don't know. Pretty warm. I was between pretty warm and somewhat balanced, but I think pretty warm. That collapse last year was really not a good look. So
it was not. And a lot of the mistakes he made were similar to the ones he made in Philadelphia.
Right. That's why it's concerning. Yeah.
I can't disagree with you there. For the Jets, actually, no, let's go to the Colts and Shane Steichen because his first year, he did an outstanding job without his starting quarterback, his rookie, and Gardner Minshew was, this close to taking them to the playoffs. I think he's super chill.
Me too. I think that's an easy one also. Just hopefully what he did is
actually does well because I think Shane Steichen was a perfect hire for this team.
Hell yeah.
So, all right. With the Cowboys and the Jets. We got favorite division rivals. You want to do the honors with the Cowboys?
Sure. I think the Cowboys, Mike McCarthy is definitely underrated at this point. not saying he's a great head coach, but I think he gets way too much heat. I mean, he's had 3 12-win seasons back to back to back. So
Choked every single time.
yeah, granted, playoff success has not been there, which is going to dock him a little bit, but it's better than being in a position like the Bears or the Saints, right? So he's definitely not red hot. He plays for the Cowboys though, or he coached for the Cowboys, so you have to consider that. That's why I'm going to say pretty warm. In any other situation, he's somewhat balanced or even super
It's
chill.
also the last year of his contract, so
True.
he's really fighting for his job.
Yeah. So, and Jerry is very impulsive, so I'd say pretty warm.
That's true. And Jerry Jones can definitely be indecisive when it comes to certain things. So
Yeah.
who knows? I would put him in red hot, but again, he is definitely better than those two.
He's not on that tier, in my opinion.
For Robert Saleh and the Jets, I think, listen, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't take them to the Super Bowl or doesn't even take them to the playoffs, he's getting fired. And I know it's not fair, but I'd probably put him in the same tier as Mike McCarthy just because, listen, without Aaron Rodgers, they're nothing.
Yeah, I feel like he should be in, not should, but I feel like he is red hot. Like he is the most, I feel like he's the most vulnerable out of all these head coaches. And it's not his fault at all. It's all circumstantial, but like he has the most to prove out of anyone on this list, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
all right, so let's get back to the players that we got to save. I want to figure out like how we should do this to end it because I mean I think we've explained a lot about the teams that we've discussed, but let's just go through the teams that we haven't gone through, and I mean I don't want to like
rapid fire.
I don't want to rapid fire too much because I mean we're gonna lose people like in our thoughts and it's not gonna be fair. So we'll start with the super chill and we'll start it off with the Steelers because that's where we pretty much left off. I think for the offensive side, it's got to be George Pickens, honestly. I mean, because really, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are on one-year deals, and the running backs are on pretty much prove-it deals at this point. And without George Pickens, he's pretty much going to establish himself as the number one option now that Deontay Johnson has been traded. So I think with him as like a centerpiece to that offense, it'll at least open more things up. And maybe you could say Pat Freiermuth or someone on their offensive line, but Pickens is someone that could really do anything for them. So that's what I'd say. What about defensive, TJ?
That's easy. Well, TJ Watt is getting up there in age, but I feel like at this point you're still taking him just because of how great he is. So yeah, TJ Watt. It's pretty. I mean, yeah.
Chiefs. This is not even a question. Patrick Mahomes, defense. Go ahead.
Defense is where it gets tough though, but I would probably go with McDuffie.
Really, over Chris Jones?
Yeah, McDuffie is young and a young corner again,
and he's an All-Pro.
And he's not. It's not like he's just like an ascending player. Like he's already that guy. So it's like I'm taking him.
Yeah, exactly. For the Browns, offensively, I mean, I want to say Nick Chubb, but he's coming off a really, really serious knee injury. So I don't really know how well he's going to play coming back from that. And I don't want to say Deshaun Watson because, well, actually, I don't know if you have any other choice because they're pretty much stuck with him. But I'm going to go with someone on their – I don't know. I'd probably say either Amari Cooper or David Njoku because they're literally the two best receivers. But Cooper's holding out. And David Njoku is not really getting any younger, so it's a toss-up. But I'll probably say Chubb for now, but at the same time, you just have to hope to God he, at least plays decent coming back from that injury.
And, I mean...
Defense is not even...
Yeah, Myles Garrett.
Just won the Defensive Player of the Year.
That's pretty self-explanatory there.
Yeah, really self-explanatory. And... granted, he's not getting younger either, but it's the same thing with TJ Watt. They're still playing at the peaks of their career.
Right.
For the Texans, again, CJ Stroud. He's the runaway offensive rookie of the year. He proved to be pretty much the best thing to happen for the Texans in the last few years because of everything that went down, and we really don't need to get into any further. But, yeah, and I understand that they have Stephon Diggs and Collins and Dell and Dalton Schultz, but without C.J. Stroud, they are not anywhere near this position. So,
Yeah, and then I think on defense you go with the defensive rookie of the year, Will Anderson. Only really going to get better from here. He showed that at the end of last year. So I think, and plus he's an edge rusher too. So you got to take both their rookies, both their offensive or both their rookies of the year.
Exactly. For the Colts, it's a tough one. It's either between Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman, and we obviously know how TJ feels about his running backs. But I think, listen, I mean, Michael Pittman is solid. It's really between one of those two, but I think, listen, without Jonathan Taylor 2 years ago, they wouldn't have been this close to playoff contention. It was just Carson Wentz completely choking in the final 2 games.
Yeah.
And with Michael Pittman, I think you have a bunch of receivers that are still quality enough to lead that offense into the right direction because you have Josh Downs and Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pierce. So I'd say Jonathan Taylor, but I mean, if you want to say Pittman, I wouldn't fight you on that.
Defensively, probably going with Latu here. Their rookie.
What about Buckner?
He's not on the right side of 30, man.
Yeah.
Definitely not on the right side of 30. And plus, I mean, young edge rusher, like, I've said it for the other examples too. Like, that's got to think about a position sometimes. I know it's like obviously, Buckner's the better player right now, but like, who am I taking on an expansion team? Like, because Buckner could be on a different team, like, just like not as productive. I mean, his production's dipping, but that could take even more of a hit. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can see that because, I mean, honestly, I feel like it would be too early to say Latu just because you need to see what he does. But I get where you're coming from because you want to make sure that you keep your young edge rushers intact.
Yeah.
I also would have probably gone with, maybe one of their linebackers like Zaire Franklin or AJ Speed, but
maybe
we'll see. It's a Colts defense that can get picked on from time to time. So, really, there really isn't a wrong answer here. All right, so now we're on to the next tier. I think we left off with Atlanta.
Yep.
You got a bunch of guys that you hope could do well, like Drake London and Kyle Pitts, but I don't know if you want to bank on them too early. I'd probably say I'm not going to say Kirk Cousins, because not only did they draft Penix, but also he's coming off a torn Achilles at a late age. I'd probably say Bijan Robinson because he was someone that could do everything last year. He was great as a pass-catching threat. He was awesome in the run game. Really, he has a chance to be one of the best dual-threat backs in the league. So I don't think you want to do anything to let him go. And I understand that you still have Drake London and Kyle Pitts, but they still need to prove themselves as legitimate threats. And maybe Kirk Cousins will change that, but I think with Bijan Robinson, it'll open things up.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Their defense, probably AJ Terrell.
Yeah.
I know his best year came 2 years ago, but he's still not like he had kind of a down year in 2022, but then he kind of picked it back up this year. And he's turned out to be a really good player for them. So. Again, cornerback. I would probably go with that.
Yep.
The Falcons.
Yeah. And I honestly would say the same thing with the Seahawks with Devin Witherspoon, just because he was so explosive in his rookie year. And because everyone else left, Devin Witherspoon has a chance to establish himself as probably the next Kyle Hamilton for Mike McDonald's defense. So I would say Devin Witherspoon. Who would you say on the offense?
Probably DK.
Yeah.
There. Their youngest and most explosive player by far. So. Yeah.
And you need time to see what JSN can do. So.
Yeah, he still needs more time to develop.
All right. I'll do both for the Patriots here. But for the offensive side, I won't go with the quarterback just yet because, Jacoby Brissett is a bridge and Drake May obviously hasn't played yet. I would say Ramondre Stevenson. Because, they just gave him an extension for 4 years at $36 million. And when he's healthy, he is an absolute game changer. He gets so many yards after contact. He's got an exceptional amount of speed. He knows how to fight off of contact. And I'm really excited to see what the younger wide receivers can do. And I get that they have – actually, you know what? Let me change that answer. I'm going to go with Michael Onwenu because he is literally the best offensive lineman that they have right now. He's someone that can play at guard. He can play right tackle. And unlike Mondre, I think, Owenu has been healthy for the most part. So I completely forgot about that. Sorry about that. Defensively, though, it's Judon. Because without him, they could not get any pressure. And they ranked as a below average unit in a lot of categories. A lot of that, granted, had to do with the terrible offense, but they didn't make themselves any better without Judon. So, yeah, it's Judon for sure.
Solid picks for the Titans.
Yeah, this one is tricky.
The offense,
I mean,
probably go with Latham, right?
Probably. Ridley Hopkins are nearing their 30s.
Yeah, no, I would not pick DeAndre Hopkins. Not even. But like a tackle, like you're picking that. I mean, you take a tackle in the top 10, like you're hoping that guy is the next, Trent Williams. So
exactly. Defensively, I think it's Jeffrey Simmons because he's just been their most impactful defensive lineman. Harold Landry is a close one, and I know some people might say L'Jarius Sneed, but I think Jeffrey Simmons is just an absolute tank and someone that can just really. He's one of the most underrated game changers in the league, and no one talks about it.
So true, though. No one talks about him at all, but he's up there in the elite class. So
exactly. For the Panthers, this one gets really complicated. Defense, I think it's Derek Brown. I don't think that's too much of a debate. I mean, he's been a reliable defensive tackle, and without Brian Burns, they need somebody that's going to anchor that pass rush, and I think Brown is the guy to do it. Offense is where it gets really challenging.
I get kind of what you mean there, but I'm still going with Bryce Young. Not ready to give up there. When you're the number one overall pick, I'm giving you at least 2 years.
Can't disagree.
Especially when you're – you know what? I'm giving Bryce Young 2 more years because last year didn't really – I mean, it counted, but, like, who was going to thrive in that situation? So
exactly.
Sticking with Bryce Young
sucked.
Seeing what I spent so much draft capital to go up and get him, so keeping him.
Exactly. For the Chargers, offensively, it's Justin Herbert. It's Herbert. Like, without him, towards the end of the last year, they were a freaking mess. And obviously, I know they had Brandon Staley, but Justin Herbert was the only reason why they've been relevant for the last 3 years. And I know they have Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack and a boatload of talent, but Herbert was the only one that even tried to show up. So,
is it bad that I have to look at the Chargers depth chart in order to figure out who I'd pick on? I know who I'm picking on defense. This is actually easier. I'd probably go Asante Samuel.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Another underrated player. And surprising because of his name, but he doesn't really get a lot of love either.
I mean, here's my impression of his dad. I dropped it. Sorry.
Sorry, man. Yeah. I get what you mean.
Yeah, you can thank him for winning that Super Bowl.
I will thank him. I will always thank Asante Samuel for winning that Super Bowl.
But yeah, I actually agree with Asante Samuel Jr. In all seriousness, he's really an outstanding corner, and he's definitely not elite yet, but I think he has a chance to be once he's in the right system and once he has like the right.
Not Brandon Staley.
So when it's not Brandon Staley contaminating him, and his dad was an awesome corner. I'm not trying to throw shade on him. It's just still a bitter Patriots fan that had to watch that drop.
Yep.
That set up the helmet catch. But anyways, let's go to the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen. I mean, TJ thinks he's the best quarterback for a reason because he's just he's just so dynamic and unstoppable and such a threat. And I think he's in my top 3 because when he's at his A game, he's so hard to beat. So I don't think that's any discussion there. The defense is where it gets tricky just because, it pretty much went through a fire sale last year.
I have a really good one, and I think you're going to appreciate this one. Not appreciate it, but I feel like, I think people don't really not recognize the name, but he's very underrated. Greg Rousseau.
Okay.
He's not really talked about a lot either. But he's consistently, since he's been a rookie, he's been in the league 3-4 years. I think it's year 4 for him.
I think so.
He's a really good player. Really good edge rusher.
Yeah, I think it's year 4.
Yeah. Sack numbers aren't there, but who cares? He is like really good at getting pressure, and the Bills don't have like the most talented defensive line, and he has been the most consistent guy on there. So I'm going with Greg Rousseau.
I definitely would have said Ed Oliver too, because I mean
Another good one.
he could shut down the run, and he's getting better as a sacker. But I mean, you got a lot of guys you could throw out there. Those two, AJ Epinesa, Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard.
Yeah, those guys are all like none of those guys are Greg Rousseau or Ed Oliver though.
Right. So it's definitely one of those two. For the Jags, I think offensively, I mean, I know we pretty much crapped on his contract extension in the last show, but I think it's got to be him, right? Because, I mean, it's just remember what happened with Blake Bortles and Nick Foles and Blaine Gabbert and Chad Henne? At least Trevor Lawrence has been their best quarterback since Mark Brunell. And I know that you have Travis Etienne and Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, but Trevor Lawrence has at least been 10 times better than what he was with Urban Meyer.
I think if we didn't pick Derek Carr for the Saints, I'm not picking Trevor Lawrence for the Jaguars because they're the same quarterback at this point.
Okay.
In my opinion, I've said that. I think Trevor Lawrence, there's no difference between the two of them at this point in time. I know Trevor's younger and has a lot of room to grow, but like no difference right now, in my opinion. So
the defense, I don't think it's this hard.
But yeah, I probably would go with Trevor Lawrence when I think about it because there's not a lot of offensive, but defense, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
The defensive Josh Allen. We just talked about the Josh Allen for the Bills. Josh Allen for the Jaguars is who I'd pick on defense. So that's an easier one. The offense one is actually, you know what, Trevor Lawrence might be the easy pick because they have a lot of unknowns. But I think Brian Thomas is going to be a stud, though. So we'll wait and see.
Brian Thomas is going to be a stud. You still have Evan Ingram. The O-line's pretty decent. So
yeah, they got talent.
You do. For the Cowboys offensively, it's really between Dak and CeeDee Lamb. And I'm a little scared that they're going to head towards the 2022 Rams path where he was pretty much their entire offense. But they also have Jake Ferguson and Brandon Cooks, and you still have a strong offensive line. But, yeah, I'd say CeeDee Lamb. Because even though Dak has been outstanding since Tony Romo, departed and, since Dak got a shot in his rookie year, I think without CeeDee Lamb, that offense is not going to be good at all, or not going to be that great because, I mean, it's just he's so explosive and he's such a crafty route runner and he knows how to gain separation the minute the ball is snapped. So, and that's not shade on Dak. It's just that without CeeDee Lamb, the offense is not going to be as great as it is when he is on the field.
Yeah, I would have picked CD too. Dak's great, but I picked CD.
It's not hard to pick.
Yeah, defense, Micah. I'm not even going to go into further elaboration.
No.
It's Micah.
It's Micah Parsons. Trayvon Diggs is a close one, but he also is coming off a torn ACL, so that's why.
True.
For the Jets, I don't think this is hard to pick for either side of the ball. I mean, offensively, though, I would say Garrett Wilson, and I would say Breece Hall, but we saw how they were without Aaron Rodgers.
40-year-old Aaron Rodgers.
I got it, but we knew that the minute that he hurt his Achilles, the season was over for them because Zach was trash. They had Trevor Siemian and freaking Tim Boyle. So if there's any player I would not want to lose just for like 1 year or two, I would make sure I keep Aaron Rodgers and hope to God.
The Jets are also they're very desperate too, so you got to put that into consideration.
It is a Jets thing for them to do to keep Aaron Rodgers and let some of those guys walk, but
yeah.
It really is up to those three. Those three, I think, are going to be the cornerstones for that offense, if everything goes in the right direction.
Yeah. I think for the defense, it's Sauce. Again.
Really? Not Quinnen?
Well, I mean, Quinnen's great, but, I don't know. Sauce is probably the best corner in football. I mean, Quinnen, you can make an argument, is one of the best defensive linemen in football, but with Sauce, just yeah, I think both of them are good options. I'm going to go with Sauce just because he's younger. It's pretty much the only real validation I have for that one. It was honestly the first person that came to mind, too. Quinnen has been in the league for 6 years, so it's Sauce is
exactly. But he's one of the highest paid defensive tackles in the league.
Deservedly so, too. He's beast.
Exactly. I actually can understand why he'd pick Sauce because he's still on his rookie contract, and he's been magnificent in his first 2 years. So keeps it up this year, he's definitely going to get a contract extension. That's for damn sure. And, it's pretty much a guarantee his fifth-year option will be picked up. So, yeah. All right, I think we got through all of them. Honestly, it definitely was a little bit longer than we thought, but honestly, when we saw that first post, I think we knew that it was going to take a while for us to really get adjusted to it. But I think we did really well for this. I mean, the coaches we knew were going to be pretty easy. The players, we also knew it was going to be definitely challenging, but I'm glad we got it done in this much time. So
agreed.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for another episode of OC and TJ. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're still in the process of coming up with something next week, but in 2 weeks, division previews begin. So I definitely cannot wait for that. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Hopefully we get to talk about the Hard Knocks Giants episode and see how that does. But we'll see you guys soon. Peace, everyone.